Snap out of it. Stop thinking your vote doesn't matter and doesn't affect our community. This November, truth is, we need everyone to vote. Fill out your ballot early and return it before November 7th. Then text your family and friends that their vote matters and remind them to get up, get out, and be a voter. A message from the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County.
Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County, Forum for Candidates for Lake Stevens City Council, Position 4. I'm Sue Renhard, member of our league. The forum is being live streamed to our league YouTube channel. To those in the virtual space, thank you for joining us. A recording of the forum will be available on this same YouTube channel for later viewing. Council members manage basic public services, sewer, water, fire, police, roads, parks, etc. They establish and enforce laws, control how land can be used, and provide direction to the mayor or the city manager. They manage relationships with other governments, nonprofits, and businesses for the benefit of city residents. Candidates for Lake Stevens City Council Position 4 are Gloria Gazau and Kim Shipman. It is the policy of the league to be nonpartisan. Therefore, we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or parties. The rules for participation in this forum were sent ahead of time to all candidates. I will pose the question and will clearly state the amount of time allowed for each answer. We are using a countdown timer visible to all candidates, and time limits on answers will be strictly enforced. I will change the starting order for each question, alternating candidates in the starting position to ensure a fair sequence. The order for the first question will be Ms. Shipman, then Mr. Gazau. Let's begin. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to this first question. Ms. Shipman, your question is, what are the major issues you feel need to be addressed by this office? Please explain why you are focusing on these issues. Ms. Shipman?
Hello. Thank you. Hello, my name's Kim Shipman, and I'm looking at 3 basic issues: safety, families, and a balanced business growth. Safety, I feel, is the foundation of any thriving city. Thankfully, Lake Stevens is 5th in safety in Washington State. So I recognize the importance of fully funding and supporting our police department and their support staff to include training, equipment, and recruitment. Next, we move on to families, which encompasses all Lake Stevens citizens. We've got wonderful parks here and, of course, our beautiful lake. So we've done a lot of improvements to our park. I want to ensure funding to keep those, the beautiful parks they are. We're increasing our sidewalks. We currently have a budget and program for that. I'd like to stay focused on sidewalks leading to our schools, as well as sidewalks leading to our parks and venues where we hold a lot of functions, so that we have egress to those functions without having to drive. I think sidewalks to our parks and our various festivals are very important. And thirdly is a balanced business growth. We've seen a lot of big box stores, and I do like the big box stores in that we don't have to leave Lake Stevens to shop. They help reduce traffic on Highway 9, on I-5 and the Trestle, and of course they bring in revenue as well. But Lake Stevens was built on small business. So I want to make sure that we welcome and support the small businesses in Lake Stevens that provide us unique products, unique services. They are the community. They give us our unique small town feel, and basically the heart and soul of Lake Stevens.
Thank you. Mr. Gazal.
So for me, it's very easy and important. I am running on 3 different areas of the county, the city, and that is a transparent government, an accountable government, but also investing in the right infrastructure. And those are really important to me. As I look at our city government recently and council relations, I have to say, sometimes it feels like those separations of power lines have been blurred. And we need to get back to accountability. The council primarily role is to be able to create legislation, that is ordinances and resolution, but a part of it is also in some ways to provide accountability to city leadership. And those lines, to me, they seem to be blurred, and we need to get back to separating those 2 entities to make sure that we're being effective. So a transparent government to me is important because decisions that are being made around the people's business, they have to be very clear and people have to know what's happening in their government. Things cannot be done overnight and suddenly there are decisions have been made and people don't really know. And that touches into accountability because when a government is not transparent, a government is not accountable. And I have to say our leadership lately, based on what I've heard from people, have not really been accountable to people. And lastly, I have to say investment in the right places, safe route to schools. Senior center is so crowded there, I don't even know where to start. We need to invest in that. We need to invest in more sidewalks. And anybody who tells me there's no money, well, need to tell me why we're paying fees right now as a result of that lack of accountability, because we violated certain rules and laws, and we're paying those fees that could have gone into the right investment in our city. So we do have money. We just need to know how to do it right. And I need to bring that voice to the city council leadership.
Thank you. Timer, would you please set the timer for 90 seconds for the following questions? Question number 2, what qualifications and experience make you a good choice to address these issues? You will have 90 seconds. Mr. Gazal?
Thank you for that question. Well, my experience speaks for itself. I have served across the board and continue to serve. And I see that the timer is not on there yet. I go. So I have served and continue to serve across the board. I have served our city, whether that's on the Human Rights Commission, Snohomish County, on the Regional Law and Justice Council. I have ran for office before. I've held positions as a commissioner, ran for State House at the city level. Currently, my job, that's what I do. I create relationship. I understand government work. I've been doing this for a long time, over 15 years now, going into my 16. And so I know what it takes to build relationship, especially across the aisle. As you have seen in our country currently, that is almost non-existent, but I know the strategies it takes to get things done. And that's the reason why I have been appointed in all these places to actually be able to serve our city, to serve our county, to serve our state. And so I think my experience in this area speak for itself. And those relationships that I have built over these past 5 years that I've been here in this city and this county, I intend to leverage those relationships across the board at the county level, at the city, different cities, at the state level, to make sure that we're getting things done where we need to get things done, especially as it relates to funding that is so badly needed for infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shipman.
Hi.
Same question.
Okay. Well, I was born here, spent my whole life in Snohomish County. I actually grew up in Everett, graduated from Cascade High School. I moved on the east side of the trestle about 30 years ago. I've made my home here in Lake Stevens the last 24 years. I've owned a business here the last 14 years. I own Kidsway. It's an early learning center, so I'm an employer as well. We expanded into the school district We're in our 7th year now, so we have a location within our schools. I've lived the journey. We've been through a lot of growth, a lot of change. We've had a lot of successes, and we've had our share of growing pains. I've always took to the podium to speak for my friends, neighbors, and community. Recently served on a subcommittee that was city council members, the planning commission, and citizens. So I have the longevity to know where we've been and where we're going. And I've always been active on the citizen level. And at this point, I've been encouraged, the last 3 elections to step up for city council. I now have the time. My youngest is 18 now. At the time, the energy, and the experience, and to serve our city in this capacity. It's my past, present, and future. I'm deeply rooted here. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, what measures, if any, would you support to keep housing options affordable in your city? Mr. Nagao, or Mr. Gazal, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, you're good. Well, so I would say this. Affordable housing is one of my platforms. It's not something that I've actually just woken up and decided it's going to be. It's always been. Every time I've ran for office, I'm always on the side of the people, especially the little people, because the little people tend to be disregarded. And we need to do everything possible to make sure there is affordable housing in our city. Currently, you look at Lake Stevens. I don't know what kind of city we're building, but I don't want to live in a city where everybody is a millionaire, where our kids who are graduating from this very community here cannot afford to live here. They have no choice but to move out of this city. I think there's a lot of tradition that is missing. And so when you start looking at Washington HB 1110 and also 1337, I believe, and you think about what's in those bills and how that kind of allows us to be strategic in creating affordable housing, you start to see that we do have something in place. And so I do support those 2 bills because I think they start to help us to be strategic in thinking through what a city that looks like a biodiversity in nature looks like. Just like nature, you have trees, different types, grass, different types, animals, different types. I want to be in the city that is as biodiverse as possible. And affordable housing is one of those things that would allow us to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shipman.
Well, affordable housing seems to be a challenge throughout Western Washington, not something unique to Lake Stevens. And I don't feel there's one answer that's going to solve this problem. I feel like there's going to be several things we need to look at. I've researched various things that we could do within the Lake Stevens urban growth area, because of course that's where we have to build. We're running out of land. We've gotten pretty crowded here. And so what can we do with our current UGA, right? With our current boundaries, how can we bring in affordable housing in a very competitive market? I would like to look at ADUs, which are accessory dwellings for some of our older homes that have large backyards, help their retirement by building a mother-in-law, give some incentives for that. Of course, we've got some apartments, and now we can do duplexes on single lots. I would like to make sure we also keep in the focus, though, the impact on the existing neighborhoods when it comes to parking, right? We don't want to do a lot of building, and now there's all this overflow parking on our streets. Also, transportation has to go in to growth. How are we going to get these people to school, to work? Already, our trestle is overburdened. I-5's overburdened, Highway 9's overburdened. So it's not as simple as I wish this would happen. It's going to have to be a comprehensive plan that addresses several sides at once for it to be successful in our community.
Thank you. Homelessness is a growing issue for many in our communities. As a council member, what solutions would you propose? Ms. Shipman?
Well, homelessness, there is homeless in Lake Stevens, but right now you don't see the level in Lake Stevens that you see in our neighboring communities. And as I've researched homelessness, there are varying factors. Part of it is the economy. Affordable housing, which we just discussed, definitely plays into homelessness. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, right? It doesn't take much for them to become behind on their mortgage or their rent, that type of thing. So the economy plays into it, but also mental health and drug use play a large role in homelessness. When you go to communities where you see a lot of homeless encampments, you do see a lot of mental health and drug issues. So from the Lake Stevens standpoint, we're looking at affordable housing. I think that addresses homelessness to a certain extent. And then also, I would like to take a look at what are we offering for mental health opportunities so people aren't self-medicating and ending up on addiction. And for those that are already addicted, what do we have to offer them in the way of treatment, right? What can we offer people who are addicted and do want treatment? What can we offer them? And then what do we do in the case of the homeless person who doesn't want our help? You know, what is our pathway forward with that? Because homeless encampments do affect our entire community, not simply the homeless.
Thank you. And Mr. Gazelle.
Well, I would say this. I think we know what works and we know what doesn't work. And I don't like to kind of end up in making assumptions about people because different people have different situations. And the other thing is, I like to be proactive around homelessness, right? I can't just sit here to say, to my point earlier, just because, you know, you have to be a certain income to live in this city, suddenly that we're not going to have any homelessness or we hardly have any, then we should be thinking about it. We need to be proactive around homelessness. One of my experience tells me like some of the cities that have struggled with it are cities that thought that would never come over here. And suddenly it just floods them. And because they didn't prepare well, that happens, right? And so what we need to do, again, like I said before, we need to think about affordable housing. And sometimes we talk about homelessness as if it's some really far away people coming from some other places. No, it could be as easy as our kids graduating from here, can't afford a place to live, and they end up on the street, our own kids. That's what's happening, affordable housing. We also need to think about investing in comprehensive wraparound services because homelessness, there's a lot more than just not having a shelter. So much more that has to do with health, that has to do with all kinds of stuff that you can think of out there. But I don't want to end up making assumption. I want to make sure that we're proactive in investing in what we work so that we can prevent, but also be ready when that happens here.
Thank you. All local jurisdictions are required to update their comprehensive plans in 2024. Are there changes or additions to the current plan that you would suggest? Please explain. Mr. Gazelle?
Well, so I took a look at our plan. Our plan was last updated in 2015, so it's long overdue. And I have to give credit to leadership that it's being looked at and hopefully get updated next year. But I have to say this, again, some of the language in this is so outdated. For me, we need to modify how we define affordable housing because it is defined in there in a way that has a negative connotation to it. And that's not what affordable housing is. And so I would be interested again, because housing is a human right for me. If you hear this passion, it's because everything that is human right for me is really important to me. We need to make sure that we're putting housing at the forefront of everything that we do, because every single citizen deserves to be in a shelter, deserve to be housed. The other thing I would say is pay attention to data that is being used, because data that was used in the previous plan was from 2010. So that's clearly outdated. We need to make sure that we're using demographic data 2020. And then we have to pay close attention to the parks, recreation, and open space element in the plan, because those are areas that we have so much work to do in. I mean, you walk around the city, we're growing, but our green areas, there's almost non-existent. We do have some places, but it's not enough. And so we need to think about, again, that crucial infrastructure that is really important.
Thank you. Ms. Shipman.
Thank you. So I think there's a little confusion. We actually have already completed it. It was done in July, and I was reviewing it as well. And so our current comprehensive plan has already been completed for 2024. And some of the things it includes are, we've got little pockets within our UGA that aren't city. So they're still county. And how that works in real life is that, say you need to call the police. Technically, it's supposed to be a sheriff that responds because it's county. But of course, we're going to send our police as well. By incorporating these little pockets into our city, it will streamline our public services for those that aren't technically within our city limits. So that was a huge part of it. In addition, we have an old dump that you were talking about, green spaces that we're looking into turning into a park. Always growth is on the forefront because that's something we need to address. One of the things I'd like to bring is streamlining what I'd mentioned before. They're called ADUs, or accessory dwellings, and they're very expensive to build. But if we had some pre-approved plans that people could then purchase and submit, then and streamline a way to connect to the sewer, that might help everyday people give us other options to afford, for affordable housing, while also helping them during their retirement years.
Thank you. What actions, if any, would you propose to respond to our changing climate? Ms. Shipman?
So when I look at our changing climate, how can we reduce our footprint? What stands out to me is traffic. We spend a lot of time sitting in traffic here in Lake Stevens. I just recently attended a public meeting on they're revamping one of our main commercial districts on 91st Street, which right now you drive down 91st Street and it is just a collusion of it's a mess. And so basically what you see is people getting in their car and driving from one parking lot to another parking lot. I was sitting at Starbucks the other day and actually heard a parent ask her child, hey, do you want to walk over to TJ Maxx or do you want to get in the car and drive? And they're within the same parking lot. And so revitalizing our city in our commercial districts so that they're walkable and friendly and accessible will help reduce our carbon footprint. As well as some of the PUD programs that I, as a business owner, have participated in, switching things over to LED. Those types of things also, help with our carbon footprint. Sidewalks, we've mentioned that several times now, are going to be part of this. I want to keep the green spaces. So on 91st, we have some old trees. We're really going to try and keep those, but making sure as we grow and we improve our sidewalks and our walkability, that we keep it green as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gazelle.
Thank you. Our city currently is a beautiful city, but it's not a walkable city. I do that every time. I try to walk, I try to bike. It is not. And it's interesting that in one of the forums that I had online, I had proposed on one of the street that's actually on the Lake Drive to make it like, once a month, a walkable street for people to enjoy that space. And you would be surprised the type of backlash that I got. And again, that speaks sometimes in so many different ways of that lack of awareness that we need to put in place to educate people about the importance of creating a city that is a green city. Now, it's going to take a lot. It's not something that could just happen overnight. Definitely, we need to invest in sidewalks. We need to make sure that, we are expanding our green spaces, which we hardly have any left. And also some of the wetlands that we have, we need to stop building there. And sometimes you hear we're not going to build in an overnight. To my point around transparency, suddenly there's been change of mind. We're going to build in this space. So we need to be transparent in that sense. And I think that starts with leadership that has a mindset that is not self-centered, but a mindset that actually centers the future. Because currently, I have to say, our leadership, in my view, my experience, is really self-centered. If you're not centering the future, we can speak about all of these things, but it's not going to happen. It's a mindset that needs to shift.
Thank you. Councils, commissions, and boards are required to deliberate and make decisions in public and to hear from those whose ideas may differ. Please give us an example that demonstrates your ability to work in this way. Mr. Gazau.
I think I have spoken the transparency. To me, I think that's really important. A government that is transparent is a government that is effective and efficient. I've lived in so many different countries. I've lived under many different types of government. I got to tell you, we have it good here, but how we maintain it is really important. It is important that the people know what's happening with their city government. So when we shut down like the only platform that is online where everybody is at as a city government, for example, people don't have a place to provide feedback. When decisions are being made overnight and suddenly the next morning people are hearing about it, that's not transparency. So in my approach to work, I've always been transparent, even as I run right now. People come to me, they ask questions. Everything about me is out there. I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to delete. I don't have anything to say, well, I need to get back to this and think about it and consult it. If it is something that I need to provide an answer straightforward, I'm going to provide that answer straightforward. I've learned to be that and to be myself and to present myself as I am. I don't have anything in hiding. So transparency to me in leadership is not some mantra that I just developed overnight. It is something that I have lived through and throughout my life, whether that's my political life, my professional life, or my personal life. That's the only thing I know how to do. The people's business have got to be in the open for everybody to know.
Thank you. Ms. Shipman.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Councils, commissions, and boards are required to deliberate and make decisions in public and to hear from those whose ideas may differ. Please give us an example that demonstrates your ability to work in this way.
Okay. So I actually just recently did that. I served on a Lake Stevens City Council Citizen Subcommittee. It was a committee of city council members, planning commissioners, and Lake Stevens citizens. And they did a great job on getting people with different perspectives, different experiences, different backgrounds. And what our focus was on short-term rentals. So I'm sure you can imagine there were all different opinions. People who had short-term rentals were on it. People who were negatively affected by short-term rentals were on it. And various experience as far as how it's affected them. So we were able to come together as a group and listen to each other's stories and listen to each other's opinions and why they have those opinions respectfully. I can't think of a single time where the conversation got heated. And then at the end of the day, we send our recommendations to the Planning Commission, who then takes them to City Council. And there wasn't a single person in that subcommittee that got everything they wanted. Not a single person. And so we all learned to work together, to listen to each other, and to respect each other's opinions. And I think learned is probably incorrect, because I think we already knew how to do it because we did a really good job of it. And so that's what I bring to council.
Thank you. For the next question, you will have 60 seconds. Timer, please reset the timer for 60 seconds. Please tell us something about your life experience that might surprise or intrigue voters. Ms. Shipman?
Okay, so what usually surprises people about me, I had to think on this one when I saw this question, is that I come from a family of 8. So I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters. I was born into a crowd. So I grew up knowing how to be part of a team, and as well as stepping up in a leadership role when needed. So coming from a big family has a lot of advantages, because it's not just about you and your opinion and how things affect you. It's about your family. You know, what's in the best interest of your family, and working together as a group for the greater good. And I think City Council is like a big family that then is extended into our community, right? So the decision City Council makes is a group decision that is based on what's best for the whole. And being part of a group at times and taking leadership at others is all part of being one of a 7-member team.
Thank you. Mr. Gazal.
Well, thank you. I'm a product of a couple of dozen countries. I speak 7 languages. That's something that usually kind of get people like, wow. My worldview has been shaped by these experiences, by all the places I've been to, which is why I always lead from an unconditional positive regard. And what that means is I take everyone as they are, okay, and make space and room for everybody, regardless where they come from, because we all have different experiences. And those experiences tell me that when you step up to lead, you step up to lead an entire community. It's not my house, it's an entire community. And that community is made up of people from all walks of life, and they all matter in this community here. So that is something that I have done in all my life. It is not where I'm from. It is what I do to make better the place where I'm in currently. And that's my take.
Thank you. The League thanks these candidates for joining us and for running for office. A recording of this forum and others will be available on the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County website and YouTube channel. Find links at lwvsnoho.org. We encourage you to explore additional information about these and all candidates. The Snohomish County voter pamphlet will be mailed starting October 18th. Vote411.org, sponsored by the League, is another good source of information. Ballots will be mailed starting October 19th, and Election Day is November 7th. Please be a voter. Thank you to our League Candidate Forum team, and special thanks to Dave Moon and the Sultan School students at turkpride.tv who made this live stream possible. And of course, thank you all for joining us. This concludes our candidate forum.